Deciding which credit card or loan is right for you is like trying to choose where you want to eat for dinner. Except when you finally get to the restaurant, the menu's riddled with jargon that no average foodie could understand. So at Credit Karma, we keep things simple. We show you personalized recommendations that align with your money goals and help you turn the confusing fine print into terms you can actually understand. And as a cherry on top, we provide a detailed overview for a new card or loan before you apply. That way, we can help you make decisions faster and with more confidence. Download Intuit Credit Karma today to get started.
From the field to the film room to the war room, we've got you covered every step of the way as the road to the draft starts right now. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Armchair Scouts. I'm your host, Shane Haff. You can follow me on Twitter at ShaneHaffNFL. I'm joined today by my co-host and fellow draft enthusiast, Deibs. Give him a follow on Twitter at Mr. Crockpot. Be sure you check out his podcast, Party on Broad. Deibs, how are you doing today?
Doing well, man. Another amazing week in college football where basically all the top teams have some sort of wrinkle, look beatable in some respect. It's going to be amazing college football playoff, and there is incredible games this week.
Yeah, there were some incredible games last week as well, but it was I don't normally have like a super chill Saturday where I just get to watch a lot of football, but I did last Saturday. And it was a good weekend to have that because there was a lot of good games. But we're also joined by Deibs' co-host on Party on Broad, Ryan. Give him a follow on Twitter at Philly Sports PSA. Ryan, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Yeah, you absolutely picked one hell of a weekend to sit down and watch some college ball. But yeah, Deibs is right. The top teams definitely don't look invincible. But, we're starting to see a separation here of kind of that, that top 10, so to speak, teams that are starting to look like they're making their push for the playoffs.
All right. We've got a comment already coming in here from Marshawn. Definitely left us some great comments on Birds of the Roundtable that we just got done live streaming. Says that you guys work harder than Nick Sirianni trying to keep his job. I'm going to have to start bringing my kids onto the podcast with me. I got 3 too. I got to have the 3 kids around me on the podcast. Then Deibs can't ask me any difficult questions. I'm not going to dive into that. I don't care.
Deflect.
Yeah. I don't actually, we can add that to the list of things I don't actually care about that seem to have taken Twitter by storm. We were just talking off air about Slay going on Micah Parsons' podcast and Avante Maddox talking about Fortnite and how everybody hates him for both of those things. And I could not care less about either one. So we could add the Nick Sirianni kids at the podium thing to that list for me. I don't care, but that's not what we're here to talk about. Although that is a great comment. We're here to talk about week 8. I think it is week 8 college football. And we're going to give you guys some Eagles prospects to keep an eye on throughout the weekend. And then we're going to get into our game of the week, which is Georgia at Texas. Should be a great game on Saturday night. But Ryan, why don't you lead us off? Give us a guy that people can keep an eye on as they're watching games on Saturday that maybe the Eagles will be interested in. I don't know, maybe a tight end or a linebacker.
Man, I'm starting to get this sense that I'm becoming predictable. Well, just to throw you guys off, I'm not doing linebacker or tight end. I'm going to go with edge, even though the Eagles' edge, or at least their pass rush, did a little bit better, even though against an anemic Browns offense. But I'm going to take you guys out to Columbus, Ohio, and we are going to talk about Jack Sawyer. This is a guy that honestly is just the model of consistency. He is a model of just, 110%, always giving it all on his field, high motor kind of guy. But what's great about him is he's really versatile, and I think that'll certainly serve him well in the NFL. He can stand up, he can put his hand in the ground. Again, that flexibility is going to be very, very attractive to NFL teams. As I said, his high motor, relentless effort, but his ability to get around the edge and with his flexibility and get to the quarterback and just kind of never giving up on plays seems to be his, superpower. He has definitely gotten a lot of quarterback hits that way and even some sacks. But he really does have, good technique, good hand placement, very effective, in the run game as well. And I think that's in part to, his upper strength and his explosive first step. You combine that with just his leadership there at Ohio State on a very talented team. Jack Sawyer certainly seems to be, the one that kind of running the show there, in the veteran department there. I will say, he may not be the most athletic guy, and he certainly can be oddly stiff at times when it comes to the bend around the edge, whereas sometimes, he really looks really good. I think that's something that, certainly can be addressed at the next level. But, the Eagles obviously have a huge need at edge. And, I think the three of us have talked about it multiple times about what about the possibility of the Eagles might go edge, kind of a la what they did this past year with cornerback, with Quinyon and Cooper. That seemed to be working out so far. So maybe watch the Eagles go edge, rebuild the trenches there, and what a great start it would be with Jack Sawyer being one of those first two picks. So,
maybe if they go that route, they can still get him a few reps at tight end or something too.
Well, I was going to say maybe he could drop back into a linebacking position. That would be the more.
Any Lost fans here? Because every time I hear Ryan talk about Jack Sawyer, I think of James Sawyer.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. I don't know why.
Well, there was the character Jack, and then there was the character of Sawyer. So, yeah.
It's the devilish good looks. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is.
I love it. I'm not saying that this is how he's going to be or how he's going to end up, but there's a lot of similarities, in my opinion, of where he was in his game prior to coming out in the NFL, just like J.J. Watt.
Ooh. All right. J.J. Watt comparisons now. Love it. A little bit of J. Okay. Deibs, I'll throw it to you next. Who is your Eagles target to keep an eye on this weekend?
I'm going to do a comment here. Marshawn says, what are your thoughts on the Ohio State safety? Bleacher Report linking him to the Birds. If you're referring to Caleb Downs, he's literally one of the top college football players there is. He was a top recruit, top 5 recruit that went to Alabama, then transferred to Ohio State. He's a sophomore. He is as elite as it gets. Malachi Starks is widely considered out of Georgia the top safety prospect in this year's class. Yep. Many think like pound for pound, like talent-wise, like a possible blue chip prospect. He's better than that. That's how good Caleb Downs is. So when we were doing all the tape review and all that on Terrion Arnold and Chris Braswell, it was Caleb Downs who showed up every single time throughout my Alabama tape review. But if Caleb Downs is going to the Eagles, I don't know what just happened. I mean, it would have to be one of those like Jalen Carter drops where just crazy things happen. And it's happened before. We have a comment. Jack Sawyer looks like future intercontinental champion. And we have a comment here saying 6'5" defensive end. That is exactly where I'm going. Absolutely. Spoiler warning, I am talking about another Georgia player. We're talking Michael Williams. 6'5", 265, another top 10 recruit out of high school. His ability to play multiple roles and schemes within a defense, play inside out, is one of his biggest calling cards. Obviously, a ton of physical tools. He's really good against the run. So that's what attracts me to Michael Williams the most. He can set an edge on an Eagles defense that doesn't have a lot of guys that can do that. He's strong. He's got great upper body. He's got a very good frame to add more strength at the next level. His biggest flaws is that he's just super raw. He doesn't have a lot of gap discipline. When it comes to attacking the quarterback, his pass rush repertoire is underdeveloped. His handwork is not good. He doesn't have a go-to move to win at the next level. And he's battled through injuries this year. So, like, when you look at the surface stats on this guy, he's not that impressive. He's only got 5 pressures, 2 quarterback hits, 0 sacks through 4 games. He was widely considered my breakout star of 2024. And, keep an eye out for this guy against Texas. If Georgia wants any business beating the Longhorns this weekend, it starts with Michael Williams getting into the real estate of Quinn Ewers. So this guy is awesome, though. Regardless of production, I expect him to dominate the draft process and be a lock for the first round.
All right. Ryan, any thoughts on Williams that you want to throw out there?
Yeah, listen, he's definitely going to be considered, one of the top edge rushers in this year's draft. We were also saying prior to the show that the edge position is just loaded with talent. And I feel like this might be this year's, position that could kind of see a lot of changes throughout the draft process, as we get towards the college playoffs and then the off season of the All-Star games, the Senior Bowl and, Combine, etc. So look for Williams to be one of the guys to try and supplant themselves as the number one guy here in the edge position.
I think there could be at least like five, 6 edge rushers in the first round this year, which is wild.
Yeah, easily.
I love this comment. I'm only taking Georgia players if Kirby Smart comes with them. All right. Well, I'll give you a non-Georgia player then. I'm going to go back to my team. I'm going to talk about safety Billy Bowman out of Oklahoma because the defense is the only thing worth watching in Oklahoma right now. And so we watch it, we have fun with it, and then we go raid the pantry when the offense is on the field. We got to be fast because it doesn't last long. But Billy Bowman, small guy, he's 5'10", 200-pound safety. Last season at OU, he had 63 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 6 interceptions, 4 pass breakups, and he had 3 defensive touchdowns, which set a school record. He's got a lot of versatility. In the course of his college career so far, he's played 407 snaps in the box, 892 at safety, and 758 in the slot. And he's got great ball skills. 3 interceptions in 2022, 6 last season. He's already got 2 this year. And again, he returned 3 of those for touchdowns. So he's a ball hawk. He's going to get good ball production. You can move him around a lot of places. He's got fluid hips and smooth transitions and coverage. He's got a lot of speed and smoothness. Reportedly has run a sub 4.40, although I don't trust any of that. That doesn't happen at the combine. But he's got a high football IQ. Good recognition and reaction times. He's a special teams contributor, but he's small at only 5'10". That being undersized, the lesser length makes him inconsistent as a tackler. He's going to have a hard time matching up against bigger tight ends in the slot or against bigger slot wide receivers. He's also overly aggressive. Like that ball hawk nature comes with some drawbacks against like double moves. It's not just for interceptions. Like he bites on play action too. He just wants to be involved in every play. But I think ultimately his versatility ends up, I feel like, pushing guys down draft boards more than up. Like I write it in as a strength in my reports, but I feel like teams look at it as a negative because it's like you don't have a clearly defined role. So I think that and his size will probably push him down boards, maybe be a late day 2 draft pick. But if he lands in the right system with the right coach who wants to use him in the right way, I think he's got a shot to be a really good player at the next level. So Billy Bowman's a guy to keep an eye on. He's definitely an exciting guy to watch in Norman, where there's not much exciting to watch.
That's a really good scouting report. I'm really on the same wavelength with Billy Bowman. Like that dude's a gamer. He's clutch. He always seems to come up with a big play. However, his tackling, his run defense, the size, that has big concerns for me. I think top of day 3, late day 2 is really kind of where he fits.
All right. Well, let's roll over to our game of the week. It is number 5 Georgia at number 1 Texas. Texas is favored by 3.5 points in this game. this is your night game on Saturday. Kicks off at 7:30 Eastern time. Texas has yet to win a game by less than 19 points. So Texas has been dominating everyone. Georgia, not so much. They didn't jump on Auburn. They only led by 4 in the second half before they pulled away. They only won by 10 against Mississippi State, and Georgia hasn't covered the spread since week 1. And so now, obviously, covering the spread's not necessarily the most important thing as long as you're winning football games, but one team has been dominating and one team hasn't. And so when you look at this game, maybe it's that simple on the road. Ryan, as you look at this one and preview the matchup, what are your thoughts on Georgia, Texas?
Yeah, listen, you actually kind of stole what I was going to say, and you're absolutely right that one team is not been great, and that's Georgia being 1-5 against the spread, whereas Texas is 5-1 against the spread so far this year. And Texas is dominant not only on the offensive side but on the defensive side. And this Georgia team has been known for their defense, but I think the defense is where they are kind of slipping this year. And while they have maybe this guy or that guy, as obviously Deibs just talked about one of them, as a unit they're not playing together as they kind of have in the past couple of years, winning their championships here. And I think that's exactly why Texas is going to take advantage of that. Texas's offense is absolutely humming. They are just scoring points at will. I feel like every other game they're putting up 50 points and dominating. And while I know, Shane, that you're a little upset with Texas beating down the Sooners, you have to admit that their offense right now is one of the best in the nation. And they have another quarterback waiting in the wings that have already proven that he's going to be a stud in college football, in Arch Manning. So it's kind of an embarrassment of riches there in Texas. So if Georgia wants a chance to stay in this game, they're going to have to absolutely come with it defensively and try and slow down this multiple faceted offensive game of Texas.
All right. Deibs, any thoughts about this game? How do you see it playing out?
Yeah, just like you guys said, it's not your father's Georgia Bulldogs. They need to finish strong this season. Same goes for Alabama. Alabama's defense is struggling as well. Texas is arguably the most well-balanced elite team there is in the country. And Ryan talked about the offense. I'm going to talk about the defense of Texas, which I think is elite as it gets. Mm-hmm. And this is a guy we're going to be talking about, especially Ryan, our linebacker guru for years to come. Anthony Hill is arguably the heart and soul of the Texas Longhorns defense. He's a sophomore, was an elite recruit out of high school. He was just dominant against the Oklahoma Sooners last week. 11 tackles, 2 sacks, a forced fumble, 3.5 tackles for loss. Also had 5 run stops. He was the leader of a defense that held Oklahoma's quarterback to just 4.9 yards per completion. And on the ground, 89 yards on 39 carries, 2.3 yards per carry. Anthony Hill is a sophomore, but this dude has swagger. He's got a nose for the football. He is all over the place. He doesn't put up monster numbers like a Danny Stutzman of Oklahoma, but I promise you, he's like Junior Colson of Michigan last year. This guy has elite prospect when all is said and done. So keep an eye out on Anthony Hill. I think he is crazy, crazy athletic and talented. I think he's going to be probably arguably a first-round pick when all is said and done. But I also want to touch a little bit on the Georgia secondary. Ryan said, that they're not playing cohesive defense there. And I think it's because the outside of Malachi Starks, who is really, really good. I mean, he's safety one in this draft, bar none. But they also have some corners that are really struggling. And the guy I'm talking about is Dalen Everett, a guy that really struggles in coverage. He's more of a run defender, but man, keep an eye out in terms of matchups to watch. Isaiah Bond versus Dalen Everett. because Isaiah Bond is one of the faster receivers in this class. He's a guy that can absolutely take the top off of defense, a vertical threat. Quinn Ewers to Isaiah Bond and leaving Dalen Everett in the dust. So that's my take.
Yeah. I obviously just not bitter because I just watched Texas dismantle OU last weekend, but I think it was important for them leading into this game that they got Quinn Ewers action against OU because he started slow against OU, returning from that injury. But he did start to get in a rhythm as the game went on. And OU's offense is a joke, but they've got a pretty good defense. And he was still able to get the ball rolling. And so I think that was a good ramp-up game for him as he heads into the Georgia game. And I think it's very fortunate for Texas that he was able to knock some of that rust off last week instead of trying to do it this week against Georgia.
Definitely.
We have a comment here saying the safety linked to the Eagles, Lathan Ransom. He's all right. I mean, here's my profile on him from last year. I was surprised he came back. Well, I'm not surprised because everybody on Ohio State came back to the team last year. It's crazy. But I see more of him as like a day 2, day 3 kind of guy. That's not where I agree. The Eagles need safety help for sure, but that's definitely not the direction I would go. And then we have a comment. Do you think Howie invests in the safety position through the draft rather than free agency? It's always going to be free agency. Any thoughts?
Yeah, listen, I wish they would. As you mentioned, Malachi Starks. Texas actually has a really nice duo at safety with Barron and Makuba. Makuba coming over from Clemson just last year. I think those two guys are definitely going to be in the conversation for that kind of a day 2, day 3 guys. Especially Makuba. But yeah, I definitely like Texas's safeties. Do I wish the Eagles would have drafted a safety? I don't know. Brian Branch. I don't know. Kyle Hamilton. I'm not bitter about it. But maybe we can one day grab that guy that we all want at safety, and so we don't have to.
So this is like the position group, like just like Shane, that we all fall in love with. And we get pissed off when they don't draft Brian Branch or Kyle Hamilton. But I'll give you some names, Marshawn, to know. Kevin Winston Jr. out of Penn State, phenomenal prospect, 6'2", a lot of range, a lot of athleticism. Xavier Nwankpa out of Iowa, an amazing prospect, great size as well. That Iowa defense is awesome. There's some other guys, besides Billy Bowman, who Shane previewed. But Xavier Watts, if you're looking for a playmaker in terms of forcing turnovers, Xavier Watts is the best of the best in this class, in my opinion. But you also have some other guys like Sebastian Castro out of Iowa, who I think will transition from corner to safety at the next level. Jeremiah Cooper out of Iowa State, another really good prospect. This safety prospect is besides Malachi Starks and Kevin Winston Jr., I think Malachi Starks will be like a top 15 prospect, but Kevin Winston Jr. will probably be a day 2 guy, like second round guy. It is deep, and I think it'll be littered with day 2 prospects and all those guys I just mentioned.
Yeah, I cannot wait to fall in love with one of those guys ultimately.
Yeah, he mentioned Talanoa Hufanga, the safety for the 49ers that'll be a free agent after this season. I love Hufanga. The problem with Hufanga is injuries are starting to stack up. He tore his ACL last year. He tore ligaments in his wrist this year and is going to be out about a month. So he's kind of one of those guys that plays with reckless abandon, and I'm not sure the body's going to hold up to it long term. But just thoughts on safeties there. So anyways.
Hold on. We have a comment. Sorry, I said the Miami Hurricane safety was Cameron Kinchins, right?
Yeah.
My God. Like, I never been more wrong about a prospect than Cameron Kinchins. It's like him and like Zach Edey. I didn't think Zach Edey had any business in the NBA with his foot. I was so wrong on him. He looks terrific. Cameron Kinchins, I had him at like number 12 on my big board. And he didn't
he was definite number 1 safety for a while, and then he just fell off in the offseason. But where did he end up going anywhere?
The Rams.
Rams, that's right. He hasn't even played, has he?
No, he's played.
Has he?
A little bit.
Oh, good for him.
But,
I wish him nothing but the best.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, that's going to about wrap it up for this episode of the Armchair Scouts. If you guys want more in-depth college football content throughout the season, go check out Party on Broad with Deibs and Ryan. They go a little more in-depth into the season. This is kind of your primer show, and we'll get a lot more into draft rankings and things as we get to the offseason. But make sure you guys are following the Eagles Pin Pull Network. We got like 8 long shows a week, and then we've got some short shows sprinkled in as well. So plenty of stuff to get you guys from Sunday to Sunday. We will be back with you guys next week to preview more guys that you need to keep an eye on in week 9 of the college football season. So from me, from Deibs, from Ryan, we'll catch you guys then.